Is artificial intelligence the key to triggering trillions of dollars of business growth? My guest today is Manish Sharma, CEO of Accenture Operations. Hello, Manish. How are you?
Hey, great to be on your program and nice talking to you.
Thanks. Now, tell me about this Accenture study. What were you out to find out, and who did you talk to?
So I think we spoke across many of our clients and corporations across the world and trying to find out what are the trends. And I think, if I just kind of give a brief summary of what we really found in this was that COVID-19, it actually disrupted supply chains like few crises have ever done before, right? Unprecedented uncertainty has made real-time supplier visibility and demand forecasting even more important, and at the same time, very challenging to get right. And I think the pandemic has really changed entire industries and sorted companies on the strength of its digital foundation as the lever for making wholesale changes for how the company operates. And I think the key thing, which was interesting, was Accenture's research found that 7% of the organizations still outperform peers in periods of uncertainty with 3 times higher profitability and 2 times more efficiency, even in these bad, tough times.
Just 7%.
7%.
Small number. And yeah, now there can be many reasons why that 7% is superior to the rest. I understand that this study put a special focus on artificial intelligence. Is that true? Is that as an important aspect of this?
Absolutely. And there was a big chunk in terms of we wanted to understand what happens for the future ready organizations, right? And what the future ready organizations have made the necessary investments in digital, in AI, and operational maturity so that they are able to build greater responsiveness and resilience into supply chains and adapt to new ways of buying in the current crisis. So it's not just AI along with process efficiencies, right? Because AI is again, an enabler as we kind of go into this journey, right? So it is along technology, processes, and people, but AI being is a big enabler for this.
Now, AI can mean many things. It can be applied to many processes within the organization. Can you say specifically what these organizations were using AI for?
So I think let me give some, very crisp examples, right? So for one of the companies that we were working, right, the AI-based spare parts inventory optimization by using a combination of reliability and consumption data. So that was one big thing. Another consumer good, this was for a petrochemicals company, right, in the resources industry. Then if you look at a consumer good company, they used AI for localized demand forecasting using causal data. If I look at another, a manufacturing company, right, what they were able to do was the delay prediction model for supplier delivery assurance and thus improved prioritization over, for supplier follow-ups. If I look at another, a company which was in the comps in the industry, right, for the logistics control tower, the intelligent ETA prediction for millions of shipments using client transactional as well as external data like weather, port congestions, etc. So there are some of the examples where it is making tangible, sustained business outcomes for the clients.
Well, what was it doing for them that they were doing for themselves without it before? I mean, in other words, is the question that AI can handle more data, that can interpret it better, that it makes more intelligent decisions? What is it that AI brought to the table in these processes that you just described that makes these companies superior to most others?
So I think one is it takes unstructured data, a tribal knowledge, and put this into a very structured way. So that is point one. But
you're talking about like social media input and things like that when you're saying unstructured data?
Yeah, it could be anything. Unstructured data from social media is just one of the stuff, right? But if you just look at what is the data situation, we have analyzed only 1% of the data that is really available. And even that 1% data that we have actually scratched the surface, we are still trying to kind of figure out that 1% of data. So I think it is data from all kinds of stuff. But your question, right? What does it really do? Forget unstructured tribal knowledge and making this thing. What it does is deliver tangible, sustained business outcomes. And what I mean by that is it reduces inventory, it improves the gross margin, it improves increase in the plan accuracy, it improves the supplier delivery, it reduces logistics costs, it improves the ETA accuracy improvement. So those are the business outcomes that actually AI can deliver if we really use it well.
How far are the companies taking AI, however? Does the AI simply recommend actions based on its manipulation and interpretation of the data? Does it prescribe actions? Is it allowed to make decisions without human intervention? At what point do people come in and take this information and take human action?
So I think our premise is very simple, right? AI is an enabler. Let's not kind of get away. The human ingenuity is still the most important thing, right? I think it has got to be combined and augmented with technology. So it is not technology augmenting human beings. It is the other way around. So I think the human beings are still at the center of everything that we do. It gives, I think, it is able to do things which would have taken a lot of time and a lot of repetitive tasks even when we are doing this. So I think it takes away a humongous amount of energy for human beings to just focus on the critical decision making that is being done. It can prescribe, it can predict, but the human beings are still taking the final call as we go in this journey in our own experience and what we have seen.
I see. Terms can be confusing, however. We also hear the term machine learning, which I understand to be an aspect of AI, but it's not just another word for it. How do you differentiate the term machine learning from AI, and are companies using both of them or one or the other more?
So I think, let's kind of I will just describe the spectrum. So if I look at, how I describe this is an automation engineering services spectrum. There are 4 elements to this, right? The first element is foundation automation. And foundation automation is the basic stuff, what we used to do, right? Which is what I call as task automation. But I think the worst form of automation, but that is the macros that we used to do. They do tasks. The second piece is what is RPA. They take the processes, right? And automate the processes, right? The third one is where I call, all the stuff around analytics, the machine learning, the deep learning. So in the spectrum, that is where it falls. And then the fourth and the final, this thing is artificial intelligence. So they are part of it. I think the complexity increases, but I think it comes in the analytics, the deep learning, the stuff around machine learning and the artificial intelligence. They come in the what I call phase 3 and phase 4 of automation engineering services.
But then we also hear about different phases of AI with regard to how it deals with this information: descriptive, predictive, prescriptive, the last being where the AI is actually telling you what to do. How far along on that scale are these companies we're talking about?
I think most of the companies that we are seeing and in our own experience, right? I think they are probably, I would say the prescriptive one is the tough one to crack. I think the very good usage, I think, is in the predictive space. And I think that is where, they can describe, they can predict. Prescription, I would still say, human beings play a huge part. They take all the stuff, they take all the knowledge that they have, and they kind of layer on the prescription, which is there. I think probably we should play around that area around of prediction and description.
So are you saying, in terms of the pandemic, that AI was helping these companies to become more agile and make critical decisions when there was so much more to lose, making wrong decisions? Is that how AI is helping these companies through the pandemic, or what are some other ways that it is?
So I think agility, of course, flexibility, I think is very important. I think crunching the lead time for decision making. Just imagine if you were to kind of play with this data, it is not going to really happen in a very, it takes a long process lead times for people to take decisions. They can't really, human beings, it's very boring to kind of go through this humongous stats of data. So I think agility, flexibility, reduction of lead times in taking decisions, I think is one of the key things that we have seen.
When we hear about this idea of trillions of dollars of business growth, are we describing the situation now, or are we describing a future in which AI becomes more prevalent? Is it a dream, or is it already a reality, that huge amount of money being generated?
It's already a reality for 7% of the companies,
Mm,
right? And I think the math says that if the other companies adopt some of the practices for future ready, which is including AI, right? And I just want to say it's all AI. It is about AI, process, people, technology, the human ingenuity, and application of best practices. I think all of that combined, trillions of dollars available,
yeah,
and
but
it's now.
yeah. And again, though, 7%, that means 93% aren't doing this, and they are yet to do it. I just wonder, you get any idea that you have as to when this might be more widely used by companies, that it just become just another tool, business tool for everyone? How
I
long?
I think the adoption as we have in this moment is getting faster and faster,
Mhm.
a much bigger scale. I think the pandemic has really accelerated this whole, I would say, the usage and adoption of this. Right earlier, when we used to do some of the stuff with our clients, it used to take months, and now clients understand and they're kind of reacting to it fast.
Yeah.
So I personally believe that the time is now, and I can see an acceleration in the adoption of some of these practices.
So we do get one positive element out of the pandemic, and that is pushing companies a little bit more forward in a direction they would have gone anyway, but now they're getting there much faster, right?
Yeah, because I think it has changed the way we all look at the speed.
Yeah.
In acceleration, I think what used to take earlier years, it is now getting compressed into months. I think compression
Mhm.
at a mass scale we are seeing across the patch.
We'll be interested if Accenture does another study at some point in the future to see how much farther companies have come and whether that 7% gets higher. But in the meantime, Manish Sharma of Accenture Operations, I want to thank you so much for being with me today to explain the progress of AI and the incredible benefits that it gives companies who are forward looking enough to use it. Thank you very much for being with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Love the interaction. Thank you.